Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. It must be about 5 years ago now that I first heard about the Flat Earth and was reminded that the horizon is always at our eye level. And this was an instant moment of recognition for myself. And following that were several months of making many more observations and trying to make measurements and trying to reaffirm this fact of life that whenever we look across a surface, as we see here, the horizon is always at our eye level. And the only people that really have a problem with this are those that refuse to recognize this repeatable fact of any observation across the surface of the Earth. Likewise, across a level surface, whether that be a short or long surface. That surface will always appear to rise to our eye level, simply because of the way we observe the world around us, perspective. And of course, we then recognize that it is this perspective that has been converted into an imaginary curve of a globe Earth model, a model that is always illustrated to us with this side-on view and someone looking into a hump or bulge of curvature, or even looking down to a horizon that is below us because we are apparently on top of a spherical Earth. And this is why anyone with a grasp on reality and the ability to use discernment without the attachment to a globe Earth model to define our reality can see that an Earth curvature calculator, such as this one, the Walter Bislin's Earth curvature calculator, frequently used by globe Earth proponents, has no basis in reality. Because what we are given here is this subjective idea of eye level. And we can see how this is supposed to work by raising and lowering this eye level in an objective fashion. When the reality is that here, this horizon line here, is our eye level. This is in the center of our field of view in this particular image. And if we go up above the surface to any height, this horizon will always remain at our subjective eye level. But here we are given this objective eye level where our actual height above the surface isn't changing. We are given this eye level is being raised, and it's not our subjective eye level anymore. It's an objective eye level. But anyone who is actually at this height, given height, whatever this height may be, above the surface of the Earth, will see the horizon remain fixed at their subjective eye level. So you don't have to be an expert in mathematics. You don't have to be a pilot. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be a surveyor to understand this simple observation that this curvature calculator is wrong. It does not represent reality, simply because the horizon isn't doing what it does in reality, and that is to stay in the center of our field of view, in our horizontal line of sight, or eye level, when we look straight ahead across the surface of the Earth, or any flat surface. This is simply not a representation of reality. Mathematically, it will prove itself, because what it's based on is this side-on view. where we have this eye level here and everything going down away from the observer, or sometimes it's illustrated as being a bulge up in front of the person. So all these mathematical formula that we'll see here will prove the model in of itself, but they do not reflect the reality of an observation, such as looking at this lighthouse and seeing the horizon at our eye level. But we can see from a photograph such as this one that there are two things that we can see when we make an observation like this. Here we have this lighthouse that's a physical object in front of us, and that has a physical height that in this case is slightly higher than the eye level of the photographer. And then in the background we have the horizon, and that horizon is an indicator of the height of the observer. So we can tell from this image that the eye level of the observer is right here, where we see the horizon, just below the top of the lighthouse. This is the height of the observer, right here at the same height as this lighthouse, which is a physical object in front of us. But of course the horizon it appears up here, but we instinctively know that this does not mean that the water is rising to that same height. This is an optical effect of perspective. It is simply the way everything converges in the distance at the vanishing point in the center of our field of view. And of course, when we're looking across a level, flat, horizontal surface, then we will see this level line. So this is maybe what many people do not see. They expect something that is at eye level to be physically at that same height, but it just is not the way it is. This lighthouse is a physical object in front of us, and we know that we are not looking into a bulge of curvature that rises up to the height of this lighthouse. We are looking across a level surface that continues to be level. The height of this water does not change. It's not coming above the rocks here or anything like that. But of course, this is what we are led to perceive when we are told to consider ourselves from an external frame of reference, with this kind of subjective view of the earth from the side, where we appear to be looking into this bulge of curvature. So it must be really clearly outlined that there are, as I said, there are two things going on. We've got the physical object in front of us that we can see from the horizon line in the distance, that is not our actual eye level, just appears to be at our eye level, that tells us how high we were compared to the lighthouse. Let's have a look at a few more pictures here. Again, we can see here that the eye level of the photographer was at this height right here of the lighthouse, again just below the lamp at the top of the lighthouse, and it's the horizon in the distance that tells us, again, this water is not rising up physically to the height of that lighthouse, but it does tell us our eye level. Here's another one where again we can see that we are at some height on these rocks above sea level, but we're not quite as high as the top of the lighthouse, and again this is dictated to us by the apparent level of the horizon in the distance. I mean, we know, for example, that this building on the right here is not below the sea level that we see over there in the distance. It is, again, just the effects of perspective and how it's what gives us this impression and knowledge about distance and depth of field that we wouldn't otherwise have. Here we go again, another view of the same lighthouse, where we can see this horizon in the distance, and we can see that from this horizon we can see our height. The lighthouse is a physical object in front of us. And of course the land in the distance is also physical, but because of perspective it has converged at our eye level, the height of the observation that's been made. Okay, we can see this with any photograph. Back to that one. And we can also see this when we look at photographs of aircraft in flight. Here the horizon is not so clear, but what we can see from this is that the horizon is at the photographer's eye level. And we also know that for the pilots in these aircraft, of course, while they're turning, then the horizon will be in a completely different place for the pilots of each of those aircraft. So let's have a look at this one. This is a lot clearer. Again, we can see this horizon here, which indicates our eye level. And we can see, for example, that the second aircraft, the A350 here, for the pilot in that aircraft, they will see a horizon at pretty much the same place that we see it, because we are on the same level as this aircraft. We are slightly higher than this aircraft in the foreground, but for the pilot of that aircraft, his or her horizon will be at his or her eye level. That horizon will not look the same as it looks to us. It won't be above the pilot's eye level, as we see here. Likewise for these three aircraft, above our horizon for our eye level. Those pilots will see a horizon at their eye level. The horizon is subjective. It is not objective. But of course, with the globe, we are given this objective idea of the horizon being something that's fixed. But it's not. It is fixed in our eyes, our eye level, as an individual observer. So each of the pilots of these aircraft will see a horizon at their own subjective eye level. This person piloting this aircraft at the top here, higher above the photographer, doesn't have to look down to a horizon. That pilot will see a horizon at their eye level. Okay, here's another demonstration of that, where we have this aircraft here at about the same height as the camera's eye level. And we see the horizon here. That pilot will see a horizon there as well. The other pilots will see horizons at their own eye levels. It will be subjective to their eye level, not related to the eye level of this photographer. And again, we can see here an aircraft that's slightly above the camera's eye level and an aircraft that's slightly below the camera's eye level. And for the camera and this photographer's eye level, we have a horizon pretty much in the middle here. And again, those pilots will each have their own subjective horizon. This pilot won't have to look down to this horizon. He will see a horizon at his eye level. Likewise for this pilot, he is not flying below his personal horizon. His personal subjective horizon will be at his eye level. So this simple fact alone completely destroys the globe Earth model or belief as some kind of interpretation of our reality. And the only people that have a problem with this are those who have this dogmatic belief in a globe model as their reality, just because of some mathematical equations and the idea that this mathematical model of a globe in a heliocentric system spinning around the sun has been given to us as an interpretation of where we are. The globe is nothing more than a conversion of our subjective reality, perspective, into an objective model that is not our reality. Eye level is a very simple thing to understand. It's an observation that anyone can make anywhere. Eye level is a horizontal line of sight perpendicular to plumb or vertical, straight ahead. And it is the horizon that we see in the distance that tells us our relationship to everything else in the foreground. So we're seeing two things in this field of view. We are seeing a physical object in front of us, and we are seeing the optical phenomenon of perspective putting the horizon at our eye level. And it is the horizon that tells us how high we are in relation to the physical object in the foreground. This is our reality. There is no denying of it. No amount of explanations, excuses, obfuscation, or attempts to call eye level anything other than a straightforward horizontal line of sight will ever suffice to replace the reality of any observation that anyone can make anywhere, anytime. And that's besides all the pseudoscience of the physics that has been put together to give us this idea that we live on an impossibly curved earth where water bends and doesn't flow down curves. But it's this observation that anyone can make that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that we do not live on a spinning globe. We live on a level earth as far as any of us can tell. Demands for maps and models are ridiculous. They are inane because there is no one on this earth that has ever explored the entire earth. So there is no authority on this. There is no way that any one of us can come up with a full map and model of the earth. The globe earth model that we have been given is a model that converts perspective into an imaginary curve, simply because a decision was made at some point in the past to have us believe and perceive that we live on an earth that is going around the sun in a heliocentric model. And the only way you can justify day and night in this heliocentric model is to have a spinning earth. And so observations that are governed by perspective of the sun, the moon, and the stars have been converted into this globe model to give us this subjective impression of the earth and its place in space, when really nobody has any real idea about what this place is and where it is. Thank you very much.